It is World Refugee Day today, which is an annual opportunity to honor refugees from around the globe. This year's theme focuses on fostering a world where refugees are welcomed and with a sense of solidarity, but many still are not, as Afzal Ahmed explains.
According to the UN, there are almost 120 million people worldwide who have been forcibly displaced due to persecution, conflict, violence, human rights violations, and other events. To put that into perspective, that's 1 in every 69 people. Of these, 68 million people are internally displaced, 38 million are refugees, 7 million are asylum seekers, and 6 million are in need of international protection. And in total, there's been a year-on-year increase over the last decade. Now, new and ongoing conflicts have continued this year, which have driven forced displacement globally. Examples include the conflict in Sudan, which broke out last year, causing the largest humanitarian and displacement crisis in the world. More than 6 million people are displaced within the country, with a further 1.2 million fleeing to neighboring countries. In Palestine, between October and December 2023, up to 1.7 million people, or over 75% of the population, were displaced by the war on the Gaza Strip. And the escalating violence in Myanmar has displaced more than 1.3 million people within the country last year. And it's on the rise. People have been fleeing the fighting between the military junta and rebel groups over the last few months on both sides of the border, particularly the Rohingya minority who face persecution by both camps. They have sought escape through land and sea, but have been facing a less than welcoming attitude from its hosts. Bangladesh, for example, is facing an impending influx of Rohingyas arriving on its soil from Rakhine State. The UN this week warned of the grave situation for the tens of thousands trapped in between. But Bangladesh says it's not ready anymore to bear this burden. Mohammed Kamruzzaman reports.
Rohingya refugee Abdul Rahman fled to Bangladesh only 2 months ago. For his safety, we have used a fake name. In the wake of a deadly war in Rakhine State between Myanmar's army and the Arakan army, he secretly entered Bangladesh after a week-long hard effort with his pregnant wife.
Earlier, only Myanmar army tortured and killed us. Now Arakan army also doing the same in almost every village. In a single village, they even killed several hundred Rohingyas. I am worried now for my parents and relatives who are still living there with life risk.
The Free Rohingya Coalition estimates that more than 1,000 Rohingya have been killed by the Arakan army during the recent war. More than 1/3 of the 600,000 Rohingya in Rakhine State have been internally displaced. This is another Rohingya who also fled into Bangladesh 2 months ago.
We were somehow surviving, but the situation has got worse since November 2023. We are in a countless trouble as we are the target of both rival forces, the state army and the rebel Arakan army.
Tensions have risen among the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh as their dreams of meeting their loved ones in Rakhine State through sustainable repatriation have been shattered.
Our young boys aged 15 and 18 years are being killed by the rebel force Arakan army now. How do we dare to go back to our homeland without safety guarantee and citizenship rights?
Bangladesh is trying to reach a solution to the Rohingya crisis through the tripartite initiative by China, Bangladesh and Myanmar.
We cannot now have any communication with the Myanmar counterpart, and we are actually frustrated to see the armed conflict and war in Rakhine State. Yes, some people were gathering on the other side of the border to enter our territory, but the Bangladesh stance is that Bangladesh is already overburdened. Bangladesh is not ready to receive a single individual further.
Nearly 1.2 million Rohingya are currently living in 33 camps in Bangladesh. The Bangladeshi locals, who are now a minority to the Rohingya refugees in the border district of Cox's Bazar, have called on the world leaders to resolve the issue for the sake of regional peace and stability. Mohammed Kamruzzaman, TRT World, Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh.
Now, to talk more about the current refugee situation across the world, let's bring in Babar Baloch, who is the spokesperson for the United Nations High Committee for Refugees. He joins me now live from Geneva. Great to have you here with us on TRT World. Now, despite the United Nations publishing all these stats about refugees across the world, despite efforts to protect refugees, despite resolutions to protect the rights of refugees, it seems to me the situation of refugees across the world has only worsened in the past few years. Take Bangladesh, for example. The Rohingya refugee crisis began in 2017. And I remember every year it's only getting worse. So what exactly is the international community doing wrong here?
Indeed. I mean, that's also a reminder that once a conflict starts, once people become refugees, there's no resolution to their plight. Remember, an individual does not become a refugee by choice. I mean, people are forced by circumstances, and when we say circumstances, it means wars, it means conflict, and it means persecution. It means that you have to run away, leave your home and country to save your life. And this is what UNHCR, my agency, the UN Refugee Agency, has been asking those who have influence on all sides in conflicts to let's work on resolving and bringing peace in the locations of origins of refugees, because the refugee, what they want, and as we have seen, as we have in the situation of Myanmar, where have they gone? They're gone to Bangladesh, majority of to the neighboring countries and everywhere else as well. People want to stay close to home in a hope that they can go back to their places as soon as possible. Unfortunately, that's not happening for many people, but what is happening is the generosity that the neighbors, the local communities, in terms of sharing resources, sharing land, sharing homes in many situations. So that's the brighter side. But today, as we have been mentioning, World Refugee Day is a day to honor the resilience and the courage of millions of people around the world who have been forced out of their homes and countries.
Babar, we're running out of time, but I just want to ask you a very quick question. As the UNHCR, what is your message to the international community?
The message is clear. The message is please find solution to the conflicts and wars around the world. Please work more on peace brokering rather than, once the conflict starts, then how much we try as a humanitarian community, we try to help humanity and those who are affected. But unless and until there is peace in those locations, people are unable to return home. Sadly, what we have seen in the previous years, once a conflict starts, and in many situations, it just drags on and on and on. Like you mentioned, the situation in Myanmar, Afghanistan has been there for too long. And then if we currently see South Sudan, where since last year millions have been displaced, we have Ukraine, we have Syria, other locations. So unless and until the world comes together to bring peace to those situations, sadly, there'll be more people who will be displaced.
Mr. Babar Baloch, thanks very much for talking to us here on TRT World. I really appreciate your taking out the time.